There we go. We're there.
They were good now.
Should I wait for him to come back?
Probably wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, we want to make sure the public can. I'll call the Board of Adjustment and Appeals meeting open at 7:04, and we're ready for roll call.
Commissioner Sepulveda, Commissioner Ranawa,
Here.
Commissioner Weiler,
Here.
Commissioner Forsythe, Commissioner Sandu,
Here.
Commissioner Redding, Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
All right, so looking at the approval of the agenda, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved?
I'll second.
All right, so then we have call for notarized affidavits, proof of neighborhood meeting, and sign-in
We
sheet.
need to, you just need to have a voice vote on approving the agenda.
So we don't need it?
You do need a vote on, to approve the agenda.
So a voice vote, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all in favor say nay, or opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. Now we're ready to call for notarized affidavits, proof of neighborhood meeting, and sign-in sheets for appropriate public hearings.
Yep, we're good.
All right. Oh, you can't hear me. How does that? You heard me before when I was like,
I think if you pull the
Careful what you ask
mic a
for.
little forward towards yourself, yeah.
hold
Try
it further
yeah.
away.
It has
Close
to be
your
pretty
mouth.
close.
It's supposed to be close? All right. And can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Can you hear her now?
All right, thanks. And so we have recognition by the Planning Commission of interest, it's not
Board of
Planning Commission.
Adjustment.
It's on the agenda, it says Planning Commission, but recognition by the Board of Adjustments of interested citizens. I don't think there are any. Can you confirm that, Mr. Krisky? There are no interested citizens?
No, not
Okay.
for the Board of Adjustment.
All right, and then our consent agenda, which contains the January 2025 minutes. I'll entertain a
I'll
motion.
move approval.
Second.
All right, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'll
And I will abstain because I wasn't here for the January meeting.
All right.
And all opposed, say nay. So motion carries. And so now for General Bishop, this agenda
You have
doesn't.
this one?
Oh, no, I don't. Right.
So your next, there's no other business to be.
Okay, yes, no
adjourned.
other business, and so now we'll move to adjournment.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 And all opposed, motion carries. We're now adjourned.
Thank you. I will call the order to Shakopee Planning Commission meeting Thursday, April 3rd, 2025 at 7:07. Can we have a roll call, please, Mr. Kursky?
Yep. Commissioner Forsythe, Commissioner Sandu,
Here.
Commissioner Redding,
Here.
Commissioner Sepulveda, Commissioner Weiler,
Here.
Commissioner Ranawa,
Here.
Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Item second, approval of the agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
We have to make a motion.
Oh, can someone make a motion to approve the agenda?
To approve the agenda as we have it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item 3 is recognition by Planning Commission of interested citizen. Anyone in the public who want to talk about something which is not on the agenda? Anyone who would like to speak something about which is not on the agenda? Okay, moving on. Item 4, which is consent agenda. Then we have the meetings from the previous meeting. So I will make a motion to approve the meetings of the minute from February.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent item, including the minutes from March.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? We're moving to item 5, general business. We have 2 items there, 5A and As I believe last time we opened this discussion, but we didn't close it, Mr. Karski, so we don't need to reopen it, the public hearing for the item 5A, right?
Correct.
So we'll continue that, the public hearing.
Excuse me, just a point of clarification. So the public hearing is open?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Do we have any presentation?
So again, Commissioners, this is a public hearing, annexation, zoning, and MUSA amendment to properties located within the Jackson Township. City of Shakopee is proposing annexation, zoning to agriculture preservation and amendment to the MUSA service area. Properties in question are all located north of County State Aid Highway 78, with several east of Old Brickyard County Road 69 and several others just east of Highway 169. There are 11 parcels consisting of approximately 61 acres with the potential development to generally consist of a mix of commercial, residential. City staff have provided a certified notice of intent to annex to Weber, Briegeman, and Melcher properties as required and approved by the orderly annexation agreement. Staff have met on site with the Melcher family to share details of the proposed sanitary sewer project. Staff has had multiple discussions with some of the families to share details on what might occur with upcoming developments in the vicinity, and some of these details were included in the notice of intent to annex. City Council may consider abating and phasing in the city's portion of property taxes on a case-by-case basis. So that's not under your purview, that is under the City Council's purview. So here are the annexation parcels. There are 3 residential parcels here. There is a vacant parcel here that has a large piece of bluff on it. There are 2 parcels here, and then the parcels that are currently owned by Scott County for retention ponds. So comprehensive plan guiding is the parcels in red are the proposed MUSA changes because they are not currently in the MUSA. And then the orderly annexation, we're allowed to annex property as a city automatically in areas A, B, and now C, areas D if we have proximity. Areas E and F are restricted to 2050 unless the property owners propose annexation. So these are well within the areas that we're allowed to under the orderly annexation. So Scott County zoning is kind of a mixture here. There is some urban reserve area, which is the slashed color here, and then there are some general commercial, which is down here on the corner. Shakopee comprehensive plan for this area, so it's open space for the residential areas. The larger parcel, part of it is also considered to be deemed open space, but also is for mixed residential. There are 3 actions required on this item and need to be voted on separately. One is to recommend approval to the City Council of a draft resolution 2025-035, approving the annexation of the property. The second is to recommend approval to the City Council of draft resolution R2534, which is approving the comprehensive plan amendment to figure 4.60 to increase the MUSA to the 3 parcels down along 169. And the last is to recommend approval to the City Council of the draft ordinance 2025-008, approving the zoning of these properties to agricultural preservation zone, which is our AG zone.
It is a public hearing if someone would like to talk about on this topic.
You need to ask if they have any questions first.
Do you guys have any questions for the staff? I figured. Anyone from the public would like to talk about? Yeah, please come forward and make sure you write your name and on the sheet.
Good evening. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
You'll need to speak right into that mic. It doesn't carry.
Pardon?
You'll have to speak right into that mic. It doesn't carry well at all.
Okay. You can pull forward, yep.
Or it's you.
Oh, it even has a note here. Commissioners, my name is Paul Melcher, and I'm here representing the my parents, Tom and Sue Melcher, and their trust. My sister Mary is here as well. I had some things prepared, but I had a nice discussion with Michael before the meeting that clarified a few things for me. But I do want to get a couple of things on the record. My parents have owned that property. We call it the Melcher Woods for almost 60 years. My brother and I are both biologists. I'm a college professor, but previously worked with a lot of land use issues professionally with SRF Consulting, where your city engineer came from, I think. And we've worked diligently to preserve the forest area in that woods because it is a very special piece of property. It's never been cut, never been grazed. It's a very rare subtype of Minnesota hardwood forest that only exists on the bluffland forests right now of the Minnesota River. And our goal is to preserve it indefinitely, very likely by eventually selling it to Mike, or the city of Shakopee, I mean, or the county, or perhaps a nature conservancy. We're in a bit of a conundrum here. When we saw that there was a sewer main slated to go right through the dead center of this property, it was very disconcerting. Michael and a couple of other city officers came out, and we had a nice visit about it and talked about our concerns and the concerns of my parents about increase in property taxes if they're annexed. And I'm sure that our neighbors have the same concerns. We know that the Planning Commission doesn't have anything to do with taxation and tax abatement. Perhaps you recommend that to the City Council. We'd prefer that the city or the Met Council or whoever will be putting the sewer main in would go around with a lift station. We know that's much more expensive and technically difficult. But in our conversations out at the property in March, the engineer and Mr. Kursky discussed the option of doing a lateral boring and putting it underneath the woods so as not to disturb that landscape. And at bare minimum, we would ask that would be the case. Trenching it would be absolutely catastrophic for that ecosystem. The conundrum that I'm in is that I know that the City Council is who makes the final decision on the annexation and the tax abatement and the engineering plan. And so if I knew that those things were in place to protect the property and to abate the taxes for my folks as long as they want to live there, I wouldn't be opposed to the annexation per se. But you can't promise me that, as I understand it. And so I at least want it on the record that is part of your recommendation when the time comes, or suggestion, or some assistance in that regard. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
So, Chair, under State Statute 414-.035, it does allow municipalities, when they're annexing in property in township, they can either phase it in for 6 years or their duration until such time that there are city services provided to the property. So staff's recommendation when this goes forward, there'll be a separate item prior to the annexation to enter into the City Council into an abatement agreement until such time utilities are to the property, which won't be anytime soon. I think as the speaker pointed out, the city engineer went out there and they had originally, before his time, planned on doing a cut and fill sewer. He's agreed that when it comes time to do the design in the sewer and to build it, it will be a drill bore sewer, probably about 30 feet down, which will have no impact on the bluff. And And the city administrators also agreed to that.
Mr. Chair, unless you're, I'm trying to get my hands on this. If we go ahead and approve these things tonight, do I understand that there isn't any immediate action or activity that's going to take place on this land?
So Chair and Commissioners, what will happen is you only make a recommendation to the City Council.
Right.
The City Council would then annex it in. That sewer, for instance, won't be built for a number of years. The adjacent property has just been closed on, and the property next to that has just been closed on to build homes. They'll be bringing that sewer over the next 2 to 3 years to this area, and that's when the city would then have a project to bore it under the bluff, because that sewer eventually will serve Louisville Township, so it comes down through this area, crosses that, it'll get bored under County Road 78 and goes very deep all the way to, I think it's the Jackson Township, Louisville Township line. So we have a kind of a dual sewer. That's what really started this. The other thing is the city is in the process of acquiring, we have out for an appraisal, also appraisal on the 3 residential properties right now. We've already acquired the easternmost bluff. We're acquiring the second piece as part of the adjacent Bluff View development, and this will be the last piece. So the Brigham Trust is selling the residential piece, and we have an agreement with them to buy the rest of the bluff. So the last piece of the bluff would be these 3 houses.
Can I follow up, Mr. Chair, just from, so if this all goes through, if the council approves it, when do you anticipate that there would be any development on this land?
There will never be development on the 3 houses. The parcel down below, D.R. Horton is doing that project, and they plan on bringing 17th Avenue to this parcel. The county highway system needs to get to Old Brickyard Road, County Highway 69, and so they're working with the state to actually expedite completing that last little section, because that's the only true east-west road in the city. I mean, it goes all the way past out to the easternmost portion of the city, and they can't just leave this last kind of 800-foot piece. So they're participating in bringing the road to this blue piece, and they'll bring it through so that there will be an intersection there. There's no plan anytime soon to put that sewer in, because we have to wait for the development to get built out over the next few years. But as part of the AUAR for this area, which we're in the process of updating, that was done 5 years ago, and the master plan before then, it was always planned to preserve this bluff because it was identified as a ecological resource area because there are 2 endangered species that occupy this area. When we were out the other day before we met with the Melcher family, there was a big buck standing in the bluff, and there were some wild turkeys that had gone through there and coyotes, scat. So it's a very active area. All the developers understand they have to stay out of the bluff. And we had a discussion at the city council the other night. We're actually pushing the trail even further away from the bluff. So there'll be a trail on the flat side of the bluff in the subdivision part with signs telling people that it's a conservation area and it's not that, don't go put a fire pit or something in that area. And eventually there'll be a trail on the lower bluff, kind of on the industrial commercial side and on the piece the city already owns. So there'll be kind of a lower bluff trail and an upper bluff trail, but neither of which will really go through the bluff.
Right. Mr. Chair, thank you.
So what Mr. Melcher was looking for was some more assurances that there's preservation, but our plan already plans for not developing it. But his main concern right now is for the resource, for the forest, is that the sewer gets, trenched, or not trenched in, bored in or avoided in a lift station. And so at this point, is there any assurances that we can offer them on that?
I think if someone makes a motion to put that in the motion, that, the Planning Commission's recommendation is you all approve the CIP on an annual basis, whether you realize it or not. It's one of the documents you approve. That as part of that CIP, your recommendation is to be bored. I think the fact that the city engineer has agreed to it, the city administrator has agreed to it, they've already had some discussion with council because it's going to be substantially more than cutting it, and they realize we can't be buying the bluff and destroying the bluff, so there's kind of a trade-off, and I think most of them understand that's where we need to be. Doesn't make any sense to buy it and then cut all the trees down to put a sewer through.
So, yeah, I mean, whenever we get to making the motion, I will put that in the motion, that it goes forward with that, you know, making sure that forest is preserved, recognizing we need a sewer, but we need to protect the forest. That's a much more valuable resource than sewer.
And staff will be, in front of the annexation, we're working with the city attorney on what we need to do to meet the 414.035 statute on the property taxes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your question, sir?
Pardon?
Did you get your answers?
I did.
All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to talk on this topic? Could you please sign the sheet for the minutes?
Excuse me? Ooh, right, here we go. Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm kind of new to
Give
this.
us your name, please.
Excuse me?
Give us your name.
Patrick Brigham.
Thank
My parents here, Larry and Barb, and my brother Brian. We have concerns about, you guys are talking about timelines. How about some decent prints to what you guys propose to do? Because you're the planning commission, correct? I haven't seen, is it public information that's out that we can get a hold of?
It's on the city's website. It's a 2040 comprehensive plan. I showed one of the maps from it. I mean, we're not planning to do anything.
No, I didn't get a chance to, I'm just saying it's public information. All that
Yep.
stuff that you had brought up this evening should be able to be accessed
Yep.
via what's on this situation.
It's planned and recorded. So to give you an idea, the comp plan can't be changed. It requires a supermajority and an approval from the Met Council. The comp plan shows this land as parks and open space.
Okay, even with that, is there a timeline adjusted to that as far as what was going to be happening there?
It's the 2040 plan, but it has to be redone every 10 years. So don't ask me why the state does that.
Okay.
So the 2040 plan really in Shakopee is, we're already up to the 2040 plan, believe it or not.
Okay.
Growth has happened much quicker over the past 8 or 9 years than was anticipated. So right now we have retained IRR, which is the highest level appraisal you can get, who's appraising the bluff for the Brigham Family Trust, because the city's plan is to purchase the bluff portion of it. And as part of that, they also are appraising the 3 houses. So the Melcher property, the Brigham House, and the other house that's up there.
Okay. And the timeline on that would be, because obviously there's a possibility it could be sold, couldn't be sold, what's going on the top
Yep.
end commercial. And because another concern would be that obviously we have a holding pond that's supposed to be adjusted right there. Storm sewer being driven right through the middle of the adjacent road that everyone uses to get there. And
Yeah.
it's a concern of all of us here where it's going to go and what's it going to all disturb.
The storm sewer pipe?
Correct,
Yep,
right down the
so-
middle of it.
Not my department, but I'll tell you what I know. So I understand the storm sewer pipe, if we annex this in, it'll become city, that we'll rebuild the road or whatever we have to do as part of that. That storm sewer pipe will go into the culvert, and that's the emergency overflow, because most of the stormwater today goes on the former Tice property down a ravine, and then as part of this project, there's another area where the water goes down on property the city's already acquired. So if it reaches, if the pond, the holding pond that's adjacent to this blue area overflows for some unknown reason, even though it's designed for, I think, a 400 or 500 year event, It would go in that pipe down to the road, so it would not flood the property.
Correct.
That,
Yeah, do you have that map that you could bring up? So we all could,
I don't have the stormwater stuff, because it's the engineering department, but
Okay.
it's, and it wasn't designed by the city, it was designed by the people developing the Brigham and property, the Bluffview Estates.
okay.
They have to meet the, I'm trying to remember which watershed this is in, but it's
Okay.
one of the Minnesota River watersheds, and so that plan had to go be approved by them to ensure there was no property that got flooded.
But can that be shared with them? those
Yeah, I
plans?
can, everyone's out because it's Easter week, but the city engineer has those plans, and I can have them emailed out.
Please, please do. I will put my email on there.
And then, Mike, could you just bring back up the 2040 plan, the map that you had up before, so they can see it? And it is something you can go on the, I think it's called like Envision Shakopee, and you can
Envision?
get that map so you can see
Try and get.
what we're guiding it towards, the city's guiding it towards. And so this is a really zoomed-in portion of that map, really focusing on that. So, you know, if you're looking at it in person, it looks
So on this
better.
map, the house properties and the, I can't remember the name of the family that owns the piece down below there off the top of my head.
Webbers.
The Bauer family.
The Bowers next to that?
Yep,
Okay.
so it's Weber, Melcher, and Briegeman, and Bauer's own kind of the piece that's the yellowish color there.
Correct.
So that actually is mixed residential, but the upper pieces are park and open space. And then the piece down below is mixed-use center and business park industrial.
Okay. That's all I have, I guess, until I get more. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Correct. Anyone else from the public would like to speak on this topic? Could you please sign the sheet and state your name?
My name's Frank. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name's Frank Weber. I own a little piece of that property up there. I've been listening to what you guys, they've had to say, and we received this sheet from your office, and I'm trying to figure out, other than put that storm sewer pipe in, which
It's not storms, it's the sanitary would be going under the Melcher property.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the storm sewer pipe.
Okay.
That's going to be for the overflow for the housing addition next to us.
Correct.
That's the only thing that I can see in this that is being brought to our little community. We are going to have our taxes, which are on the back of here, go up 319%. 319%. And nothing's going to be brought to us but a storm sewer pipe down the middle of our road. Nothing. They're going to leave us alone, which is fine. We're the new kids on the block. We've been there only 50 years. So we can't understand why we're being annexed. If nothing's going to be brought to us, there's no benefit for us whatsoever. I can understand how the Bauer property wants to be annexed because they're going to build on it. The property in the field next to it, the old Beggerman farm up there. But us three houses, properties are going to be we're going to be left alone, which is fine. We like that. But then we're going to be turned into a park, and we like that idea too. I mean, we really like that idea. But why are our taxes going to go up so high for no benefit for us, other than we'll be eventually made into a park when we all die off, which probably will be happening, hopefully not in the next few years.
So I think what we've offered Melchers and we've offered other people in the city is if the city were to acquire your house today, you could live there under a life estate and wouldn't pay any taxes until you either don't want to live there anymore or you pass away.
Tell me that again?
So the state allows, you can do what's called a life estate. You'd be a tenant in a life estate, so you would still live in your house, be your house, but the city would own the land, and whenever you pass away or want to move away to someplace else, you could do that, but you could stay there until that happens, and you get paid today, the money, as if you were selling the house.
And I would pay the city rent to live in my
No,
own?
you just live there.
I just
You're
live.
still responsible for plowing your snow, paying for utilities, repairing your house, but that's it. That's the only thing you're responsible for.
Speaking of snow, that's another thing that we'd be benefiting from is the street maintenance, which has lacked from the township over a lot of years. If it wasn't for Larry Bregman and his Bobcat, we probably wouldn't even be able to drive down here this evening. In the last couple of years, we've had very little snow, as you all know. So our streets have been plowed maybe 5 times. Last year, maybe 5 times. So our taxes are going to go up to help pay for our streets to be plowed 5 times a year.
But I think what we're going to propose before the annexation happens at the city council meeting, so they don't deal with this, the taxes portion, but we're
Right,
going to
but
propose.
they can make a recommendation.
Yes, we're going to propose that you all fall under that state statute where you don't get services, so your taxes remain the same.
Okay. That sounds good to me. If that could happen, that would make all the families very happy, very happy.
Yeah, we understand. The only benefit you're getting is probably the police department and who you're not going to ever call them.
We
so.
already have that through Jackson Township.
Yeah, you have the county sheriff through Jackson Township.
And they seem to do a pretty good job, too.
And so the other reason just for annexation is we're not, by orderly annexation agreement, we're not supposed to be leaving islands. Once this is done, we've already annexed everything across the street. This map's way out of date, so we're all the way to 169 now. So you would be this little piece, and the reason why the state doesn't want that to happen is for police services, you don't have the county sheriff having to come into the city to respond to your properties.
Okay. Well, that's all I got to say. Any questions or?
I guess maybe just a quick question from you, Kursky. So you had mentioned that you guys are getting the appraisals for those 3 houses and
all of the bluff.
and what?
All of the bluff.
All of the bluff.
All of
So
the bluff.
There's numerous interrelated families here, so
Yes.
another part of his family, or maybe you're part of that, I don't know. We're part of the subdivision. There are going to be 3 new parcels created administratively. The parcel that the subdivision is being built on, the bluff, and then the commercial industrial parcel. The plan is for the city to acquire the parcel that's on the bluff.
So it sounds like this homeowner wasn't aware that there was a potential for that life estate, which is sort of the reason why you're getting the appraisal, is that so
Yes.
you can purchase it now at today's prices, and then you're not paying any property taxes and you're able to live there. But it doesn't sound like that was communicated to them, or was it? And
Well, it's not something you do until we get back the appraisals. We're in a, like the first day of the process required by statutes, they all got a letter saying that we're doing an appraisal. We hired WSB today. We're getting a proposal from them. They'll go visit with them and explain if they want to move.
Okay.
There are some incentives required by the state that we would have to give to them beyond purchasing their house. If they want to stay, they'll explain what a life estate is. But we're,
okay, yeah.
and someone asked about the appraisal, even with the bad economy right now, we're still really busy, and so they always tell us it'll be done tomorrow, and tomorrow seems to always take about 3 months longer than they say. So what'll happen is when we get the appraisal back, all of you will get a copy of it because it's required by state law, and then you can argue with our consultant and they'll readjust it accordingly. And as I explained to one of the members, we acquired a lot of property over time in the city, and our appraisals tend to be much higher than a standard appraisal that's done.
Does that answer your questions?
So far.
All right.
If I got more, I'll call.
All right, you know where to find me. I'm right here. I'm the only one here, evidently.
They are here for you, sir. Anyone else would like to talk about? He didn't state your name. Thank you.
Let me steal the pen.
Who took the pen?
It's Brian Brigham. So you see these appraisals,
Excuse me, did you say your name?
Brian Brigham.
Go ahead.
So these
And what's your
appraisals,
address for the record, just so we have it?
I live in Jordan, but it'd be for the
Oh, okay.
1890 West 125th Street.
Okay.
For my parents. Let's say these properties, these people want to sell. Can they just sell to anybody?
Yeah, you can sell to anybody, but our preference is you sell to us because we tend to pay more. And because of the state law, there are other benefits you get that are not taxable on top of the sale.
Okay, because I had heard through the grapevine that, like my parents' place say, they were told that if they were to sell or try to sell it to, let's say, just put it up for sale, to sell it to anybody that wants to buy it, that wasn't an option because it's supposed to be park later on.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that's going to buy it, the title companies are going to look and say long-term, it's going to be a park. So it's a house today, but you can't really do anything beyond the house that's there.
So you're saying that there isn't much of an option to sell it to anyone else?
You can sell whoever you want to. I mean, we'll be one of the potential buyers. I mean, and we're going to, as I said, there are benefits that a private purchaser can't give you that are tax-free that we can as a municipality.
Okay, and all this information will be sent to my parents,
Yep.
so they know?
Yeah, we've hired WSB, and they have a real estate acquisition person that will be happy to meet with any of the owners and explain all the benefits.
Okay, because it seems like they're left in the dark a little bit on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they get
And-
paperwork and stuff, but,
And then we're actually, to be honest, we're waiting for the appraisal back, because you get that first, then you can meet with us, talk about it, what you don't like about it or whatever. And typically, people will go get their own appraiser just to be comfortable, and typically, those tend to be a little lower than our appraisal, so usually they'll come back and go, all right, your appraisal is better, plus we have some other benefits you get if you're moving off the property. So you're allowed up to, I think it's $50,000 by state statute in relocation benefits, so that helps, moving costs, having to do whatever, beyond the purchase price of the property.
okay.
And we don't have a realtor, so you're not paying any commission. So you're
Okay.
saving whatever the commission would be also.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Sure.
Thanks.
Anyone else who would like to speak on this agenda? Anyone else? Last call.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion then that we close the public hearing.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do you guys have any questions for the staff further on this
Well, I have a
agenda?
couple of comments, if I could.
Yes, please.
This is what happened tonight is kind of what should happen. I'm not suggesting that we might have been a little bit more forthright, but as Michael's explained, we're in a process right now. We have to get appraisals. But I think some of the answers that you got tonight were not bad answers in terms of taxes, in terms of being able to live on the property really for as long as you live, if you wanted to. And then the recognition that we understand that some of this has to be preserved, that the Bluff area is unique in the whole state of Minnesota. And I think you heard Michael say that the city not only knows that, but is actively pursuing that. So I feel like I'm going to vote to support the motion. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a question for Mr. Kuski. So in making the motion, if we want to add the riders on of, I'll add the rider of making the CIP recommendation for the sanitary sewer, but is the term for, you had mentioned the term tax abatement, and then you had mentioned like the taxes if they weren't getting services. Is that the same term as tax abatement, or what? Is there
So
a
the
different
state
term?
statute basically says that if they're not getting city services beyond, so they're not getting sewer and water, which are the main two services, that the council has the ability to abate the city's portion of those taxes. So,
Okay.
as someone mentioned, I think they go from, $400 or $500 to $1,200. So that difference would be abated. They'd still pay the $400 they pay today, but they would not pay any increase whatsoever.
Okay. So the term tax abatement includes not really extending additional services to them. Okay.
Any more questions? So my question is, like, as we're talking about it, we can amend these recommendation. Do we have the ability to amend it for the tax recommendation as well? Because that's not our jurisdiction.
It's not your jurisdiction, but you can certainly, you just
Make the
make a recommendation
recommendation.
to city council. You can recommend outside of the land use decision, that you also recommend that the sewer be bored and the woods be preserved, since the city would be acquiring it for open space eventually, and that also that the council look at doing the section 414.035 abatement.
Does, I'm not sure, do you want to try making
Yeah,
a motion?
I would love
You've
to
been
make-
writing down, so why don't you go ahead?
But I would love to make the motion if you're ready doing it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I recommend the approval to the City Council, the draft resolution R2025-035, a resolution approving the annexation of the Jackson Township properties with the recommendation of prioritizing forest preservation through CIP for the sanitary sewer related to things that will preserve the forest, boring, or a lift station. In addition, recommending that there's tax abatement associated for all these properties.
Second.
Only for the there are
residential.
some other properties that are not, that are vacant.
Yes, for the
Only
residential.
for the residential
Oh,
property.
for the tax abatement for the residential properties.
Yeah, and I'll second that as she read it.
Okay. Can we have a roll call,
repeat
please?
Yep.
No, I heard it the first, I don't need to repeat it, I've got it.
Commissioner Sandu,
Aye.
Commissioner Redding,
Aye.
Commissioner Weiler,
Aye.
Commissioner Ranawa,
Aye.
Commissioner Robbins.
Aye.
And passes. All right, moving to the item agenda 5B.
We have to do two other.
Oh,
other
sorry,
motions.
there's two, yeah, sorry, I forgot that. Okay. Can someone make the number two motion?
Well, I'll recommend approval to the City Council of Draft Resolution R2025-034, a resolution approving the comprehensive plan amendment to Figure 4.60 Metropolitan Urban Service Area in the 2040 Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
Okay. Can we have a roll call on this one too, please?
Yep. Commissioner Sandu. Commissioner Redding.
Aye.
Commissioner Weiler.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranawa.
Aye.
Commissioner Robbins.
Aye.
And I will make the motion, recommend approval to the City Council of draft ordinance 02, I think it's 2020-15, my bad, 2025-008, and ordinance approving the zoning these properties as agricultural preservations AG zone.
Second.
Hey, can we have a roll call on this one, please?
Yep. Commissioner Sandu.
Aye.
Commissioner Redding.
Aye.
Commissioner Weiler.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranawa. Commissioner Robbins.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll move to the item 5B. I will make a motion to open a public hearing of preliminary plat of Rich Land Code.
I'll move that we open the public hearing.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Who seconded that?
I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
So, Chair and Commissioners, again, this is a public hearing for preliminary plat of Richland Court. Stonebrick Engineering, on behalf of Matt Lejeas, South Oaks Realty, Inc. property owner, has made an application for the preliminary plat of Richland Court. Subject property is located north of County Highway 78 and east of Town Line Avenue, County Road 79. The applicant has proposed a plat that would consist of 8 single-family residential lots on 4.38 acres and 2 outlots that would be a storm pond and a wetland. This is a change from the previous plat, which showed 10 lots with a smaller stormwater pond and public easements. So the net acreage would be 2.23 acres with a density of 3.58 units per acre. So this is the proposed plat. So the total lot here is 4.38 acres. The total land area for the new homes is 2.23 acres. The lot area that's left is 1.38 acres, and then there's 0.67 acres of street right-of-way, county right-of-way at 0.09 acres, so the total right-of-way is 0.76, so that includes the sidewalk and the cul-de-sac, and then the very complicated county road improvements that they're required to do. So that's the 2.23 acres, and that is the outlot area of 1.38 acres. The big change from this is they've gone from 10 lots to 8 lots for larger homes. They also increased the working with engineering. There were some issues on stormwater overflow. That's why there's this notch now on this property. They made a larger stormwater pond and increased the area for preservation of the wetlands. So significant time was spent on the design to access Town Line Road, County Highway 79. This access will be a right-in, right-out with a bypass lane. Here's the street plan, and these are the county plans. So it's a pretty large section that they're going to have to rebuild per the county specs, and here's what it'll look like in a much enlarged section. So there will be what we call a traffic island kind of pork chop here that will prohibit people from making a left turn out of here. So it's a right-in, right-out situation only, along with the bypass lane. That was required by Scott County. So here's the grading plan again. This is now a larger basin. Here's a new outflow arrangement on these lots. And here is the wetland that's being preserved. And sanitary sewer line, which goes out the back here. And the new water main, so this will be eventually a looped water main through this area. The stormwater management plan. And then landscape plan, one of the things staff's going to recommend to the developer that some of these trees up here be moved to the rear of these lots to provide a greater buffer to the existing single-family homes that are back here. So there will be a requirement as part of the final plat that there be additional landscaping placed across the back. So the property's been zoned R1B since 2006 and received final plat approval for a 6-lot subdivision. Staff has determined that the approval occurred prior to the 2030 and 2040 comprehensive plans. This plat is compliant with the R1B zoning, the 2040 comprehensive plan, and the design performance standards, which require a density of 3 to 5 units per acre. This plat is consistent with that density. So staff's recommending the city council approve, that you recommend the city council approve the resolution approving the preliminary plat.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Mr. Kiersky a couple questions? Mr. Kiersky, we've seen some of this before. This is a revised plan. Am I right?
Yes.
Chair and Commissioners, yes. So this was a 10-lot subdivision, I think, originally. This is now a larger, more expensive kind of home subdivision. By the R1B zoning, he could do, I think we figured today, probably 15 or 16 houses on here, which would be really small, tiny houses per our code. But I think we've worked with the developer to do lots that are larger and larger homes that will be more complementary to the homes that are in the area. And he had, this passed almost 20 years ago, so the zoning is well entitled. I mean, we can't take that zoning away. And again, he's entitled to way more lots, but I think he understands some of the concerns. I think he understood the engineering concerns that we had, so he made the outlots larger to ensure that there was no issues with the wetlands or the stormwater pond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It is a public hearing, and if would someone like to talk about on this agenda? Please write your name on the sheet and state your name as well.
Good evening. I'm Brian Mont. I live in Hillwood Drive, just to the east of the property that we're talking about here. As I mentioned in our last meeting about a month ago, you know, I'm not against the property owner. They're wanting to develop that. I fully understand that, but it just needs to fit into the surrounding area. And even with 8 homes, it doesn't fit. We talked about, last meeting, we talked about the previous property to the east, the Bregermans, that property. Last meeting, you made the comment that you didn't want to have that piece of property sitting there as an island, because that area is going to be developed. So you wanted to match that surrounding area to have more homes and stuff in there. Well, what we're doing here is creating an island in reverse. We've got houses here that are 1 house per 2.5 acre, all the way around, surrounding to the east, to the west, to the south, to the west, but the east is a little bit more higher density. But on 3 sides of that property, it's much bigger lots. 1 house per 2.5 acres. And you want to put 8 houses on 4 acres. It doesn't fit. So we talk about not wanting to create islands. You're creating an island in reverse. So we just want to make sure that's stated and I don't know for sure when it went to R1B, because I've got documentation here for back in 2004 when it was proposed to go to R1B and it was denied. And then I've got another proposal that came through later, and we, as the Hillwood Estates development, wrote a letter kind of objecting to the rezoning proposal from the rural residential to the R1B. So at that point, it wasn't R1B yet, but now, I guess about a year later, we got a notice in the mail for the Crystal Estates approval, which was R1B and 6 lots. So it kind of surprised us that this happened 20 years ago, to be honest. So we understand it's been R1B, but I'm not sure what transpired between 2004 and 2006 where it went to R1B when we weren't aware of it. Maybe I missed it, maybe we missed it, but it wasn't well communicated.
None of us were here in 2006, so I think.
Well, I've got documentation right here from
Yeah.
the
Ordinance 745 passed the 7th of February 2006 and rezoned that property
Correct.
to R1B.
And we were in a meeting, we wrote a letter December 20th, 2005 from Hillwood Estates, the 10 houses, that development objecting to that proposal. And we never heard anything back. And now it's R1B.
It's been R1B since January, the date I just gave you,
2006?
Yes.
Correct. And what I'm saying is we objected it to before that, but we never heard word
So what
back
happened
that
is
it was approved.
you went to the plan, I mean, because I have all the minutes from those meetings. I went to the planning commission, then I went to the city council, and the city council approved it. And
But we weren't notified, is my point.
you get notified the first time. The city council meetings, you don't get notified, because the planning commission is where the public hearings occur. And the city zoning map, and the zoning map was amended back then, and in the comp plan, both the 2030 and 2040 comp plan, it shows it as being R1B.
Yeah, it's just frustrating as a property owner.
No, I
that-
understand,
that we objected, but we never heard anything back, and then we find out that it was approved. And then we find out it was approved for 6 lots, which I can understand. That's probably a little bit more than what we would consider fitting into the existing surrounding properties and development. So I'm just expressing my concern of the 8. This has gone on for 20-some years, and each time it comes back, they ask for more and more lots. And we keep saying it needs to fit into the surrounding property. So even the proposal for 8 lots, I think, doesn't fit well. It was approved back in 2006 for 6 lots. Why not keep it at 6?
So it was approved, the preliminary plat, which was never executed, was approved for 6 lots. It
Correct.
was zoned R1B, which today he could build 5 units an acre. So there's 4.38 acres, take out the road, so theoretically he could build probably 18 houses.
Correct. It needs to fit into the surrounding area. You don't want to create an island of high density within a low density area. That's my point. The other concern which I expressed was the drainage. How are you going to guarantee, or how do you guarantee that that drainage now, with the 2 holding ponds that will now feed into our development, not impact our development? And if it does, who's responsible for fixing it?
I think we did address that last time, and I think they did made some adjustment in the plan. So, means definitely, the developer is here, we can ask him those questions as well.
But if the plan isn't done right, who's responsible for fixing it?
So the developer and the city.
Okay.
So all these holding ponds end up becoming public stormwater ponds because it's all public water. So across the city, when there's issues, the city's got to go in and fix it. Whether it's your pond or all the water eventually flows through all the ponds. We have to continually maintain all those ponds.
Okay.
So Mike, if to kind of add to him, so when you guys are reviewing this plot, like the stormwater gets reviewed by our stormwater staff. So like they're reviewing what the developer's bringing in, and so they're kind of like checking what the developer's consultants developed.
So Chair and Commissioners, that's why not only the lots a little larger, but the outlets became larger because our staff had concerns to make sure that there were no issues with the stormwater or the wetlands. So that's why that lot one's got the kink in the back. They wanted to make sure that that homeowner didn't end up getting water if they had a basement in their basement. So they wanted to ensure the stormwater flowed properly.
And so none of us up here are like stormwater experts, but I mean, there is a city staff person that you can talk to, about this, about those concerns. And then, yeah, I guess I still don't know what happens, like who's responsible. There's often these drainage issues that happen later, but I mean, the city staff have a ton of resources available to them that to check this stuff, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just expressing my concern about the current plan. I know it went from 8 or 10 to 8. It's the right direction, but it's, in my opinion, it's still high for that surrounding area, especially when you have 1 house per 2.5 acres and you're putting 8 on 4 acres. It's just something, 6 or something is more appropriate. I think originally it was around 2 to 3, 20, 30 years ago. That's appropriate. So,
to be clear, though, the stormwater's been addressed, right? Your question was, who's responsible if it's wrong and it doesn't work? And the answer, if I heard correctly, is the city and the developer.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I just want to make sure you've heard, because it seems to be maybe still a question. I want to make sure you're ready.
it's still concerning, but at least to know I'm not
Yeah,
responsible
you don't know
for
until you know, but right, at least you know that it's not you.
Yep. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public would like to talk on this agenda? Anyone else? Please write your name on the sheet and also state your name for record.
It's Mark Baldwin. Yeah, I guess I don't have too much to add. I think it's just kind of disappointing, never had a chance. I feel like the homeowners, they're surrounding this
Could you
development.
do us a favor and speak into the mic? Thank you.
Property owners around this low development that they're disposing now, I feel like it's a little disappointing they've never been able to, I mean, it went to R1 without being able to dispute it in any way. It just, I don't feel like it should have been they're trying to, they can follow the criteria at R1, obviously. I mean, that's a lot of homes, but it doesn't fit the surrounding areas, and never been able to dispute that R1, and it just kind of happened. And I don't think anybody got to contest it, realizing that this was going to be. I just feel like the zoning is incorrect with the surroundings homes. It's gonna, it's a lot of homes still in that little space, when everything else, like he was saying earlier, was large acre lots, and people got these homes, big homes, and he wants to build these 2-bedroom homes, 2-bath, because they want to downsize their homes. And they're kind of in an expensive neighborhood, in my opinion, you know, with these bigger lots, you know, so I guess it's all I can say. Let's put my 2 cents in. It really doesn't fit, but you know, it's still too many homes. But our hands are kind of tired. It's kind of up to you guys. There's not much we can do. They can follow R1 and build what they want, but it just doesn't look right in the neighborhood. It's going to look kind of goofy. It doesn't really fit. Maybe I'll drive by and take a look at the place and kind of see the surroundings. I mean, I wish you could talk to them at council and have them come by. Maybe they would have understanding, but push come to shove, really comes down to the money. I mean, taxes, I feel like, and everything else. But that's what makes everything go around. But we understand he's got to sell this property. He's got to put so many homes on it so he can make a buck, so he can pay for this road. We all get it. So just trying to find a happy medium. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Would anyone from the audience would like to speak on this agenda? Last call. Anyone would like to speak on this item?
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do you guys want to discuss it?
So I'll just give you, since I had the joy of reading
Michael,
a lot of history here. So this passed the Planning Commission 3-2 back in the day, and it passed the City Council 4-1. So it was
Back in
not
2006.
Okay. Yep. Well, actually, it started in 2005, but it finally passed in 2006. So it was not popular back then, and everybody objected. But for whatever reason, City Council agreed to do it. So if you all remember, we gone down this path before. The city does not really have the power to pull somebody's zoning back once it's been vested for this long. I mean, it's not like this happened yesterday. And so I think that, particularly if there were litigation, he would say, I could have built, you know, Your Honor, whatever, 18 homes or whatever the number is, and I was at 10 and now I'm down to 8. And I had 6 originally, and this meets the minimum density required by the Met Council, who has to provide sewer to this area. So we're doing everything we can to try and make it work. I think these will be pretty substantial homes. I mean,
I was going to ask, what drives the minimum density? Is it essentially the cost of the services from Met Council?
I'm sorry.
What drives the minimum density?
Minimum density, so the Met Council sets up a minimum density for the city in general. So it's 3 dwelling units an acre. In R1B is what the requirement is, so it's 3 to 5. They can withhold sewer to the city if we don't meet the minimum densities. That's kind of their thing. And they have gotten, in the 8 years I've been here, it's gotten almost impossible to, if you all approved the Arbor Bluff subdivision, so when you deducted out some of the right-of-way, it was 2.99, and so they would not give us a sewer permit. So we had to meet with the district representative and have a big meeting, because we were like, come on, it's whatever that is, 1/100%. And they made the density up in the next phase, so, because the next phase had slightly smaller homes. So it was only a moment in time, but they weren't willing to open the sewer permit, even though, because they said, what if they never build the next phase? And I went, they're already grading in the next phase. It's not like they're going to stop. So it's very difficult situation that we're put in, and
So will you have to go through the same process for this development as far as going to the Met Council?
so they'll have to go to the Met Council to get their sewer access, and they'll do the calculation, and we'll have some arm wrestling because engineering made the outlots larger to meet the stormwater concerns, and also there was some concern from our consultant on the wetlands that it needed more protection, and that whole area, you can see, is covered by drainage and utility easements, so nothing can be built there. So we're going to say to them, you can't build on that. So you'd like a little bit higher density, you're not getting it, so.
Right. Mr. Chair? Yeah, I appreciate the people that came down here tonight. I really do. This has been a long story. We're a planning advisory committee, so whatever we decide goes to the city council, you know that. And we're governed a lot by zoning. I mean, that's kind of our Bible. I would suggest to you, however, that since we were all here the last time this happened, and I appreciate that you may not think of that the difference is enough, but it's less than it was the last time. There are less houses. Now, they're big, but they're less. And as Mr. Kiersky has said, the R1 zoning allows more houses than that. We're building 8 here. They're big, but we're building 8. I'm inclined to support this because I think, again, I know you probably won't be happy with it, but things have worked the way they should. We had a proposal, citizens came in from the area. We didn't like that proposal, so the developer came back with a different one. My understanding is that's kind of the way things are supposed to work when you're doing development. So I'm inclined to support the motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I do have a question. I don't know if this is a solution or not, but I'm just thinking if somehow we can build, like, say, a tree line on the back of those properties so they don't need to look at those properties all day. I mean, I know it's going to take some time to grow those trees. Is that a possibility?
So Chair and Commissioners, I think staff's recommendation is when there's a house abutting in this area, that they had a lot of trees planted along the state highway, that some of those credits be put to the rear of the homes.
Well,
So-
I noticed that you mentioned that they're going to put some on the back. I'm just asking, like, can they increase the density so it's like kind of like covering the area?
So we have rules about how you can,
Okay.
because eventually someone has to cut down the trees that don't
yeah.
grow properly, so. Which we're faced with in several areas in the city, so.
That's why I asked the question. Just want to make sure.
There'll be a mixture of deciduous and evergreens that'll get planted here.
Okay.
I guess I'll speak on just some things that were identified. So I know that the rezoning happened in 2006, and so we don't have what those notices that went out to the neighboring properties. But just, hearing from the folks during the annexation and this, it's like, can we improve our process so people really know what the whole steps could be instead of just the one window? So I know you have like minimum statutes, you have to, provide that notice, but can we let them know in those notices what the whole process could potentially be? Like letting them know, like, there's a public hearing, and if it gets approved, then it goes to city council, so they're not left thinking that there's, something else.
So some of the process is different today, so.
Yes. No, right, I'm
But
just saying.
today, before I came, they didn't even put signs up. We put up signs on the property now.
Yes, you do.
We used to notify, I think, back when this was done, I think it was 250 feet. Depending on the area, we go 500 to 1,000 feet.
Okay, so we have
now,
improved our process from 2006.
Substantially.
And then the other thing related to, these homeowners came with some historic documents, but like right now, the city, they used to have access to the archives for planning meetings, and now that's not online anymore. So like, if I wanted to go look up that history, those stack of documents you have there, the only thing I have access to is the city council minutes and agendas, but I don't have access to planning commission anymore. And so what happened there?
So Chair and Commissioners, I have no idea. We're as frustrated. I mean, one of our staff actually had to go, I think, to the county records to get these through. We had, one person on our entire staff has access to the county kind of back door.
Yeah.
We just hired a new clerk who started Monday, so
Right.
there'll be a new process, I'm sure, because
Yay.
he's just getting into this, but we can't control what the clerk does. He seems to be a little bit more modern and up to date, and like the software that we all changed to that you're using, literally, we were told it was changing under the old clerk, and it just happened. And we have struggled trying to use it like everybody else. Like, you didn't get copied on it. It's sort of like, I don't know how these things happen, so.
So I do want to acknowledge the developer, and I recognize that they didn't have to make any of these concessions on changing the lots. So I know it's not an ideal situation how it's zoned, but I fully acknowledge that the developer did not have to reduce the number of lots in there, and so.
They also addressed the stormwater issue as well, because that was the concern by some of the residents as well. So, yeah, developer is willing to work around it too, so we do appreciate that. But it's kind of like a tough situation here, so, I mean, he's not doing anything which is not up to code, so we can't really stop him. That's what our job is here, to make sure everything is up to code, and he's following the city guidelines and all that stuff, and he's following those, and he was willing to work with some of the concerns, and he brought up the density down, and he's also like working with the stormwater, which was the concern. So, yeah, there is, I think this is a win-win situation. I know it's not the ideal situation for both of the parties, but I think we can work around it. All right, anyone else want to have a discussion, or we good to go for the vote?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend to the City Council adoption of Resolution R 2025-003, a resolution approving the preliminary plat of Richland Court.
I'll second.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Yep.
Commissioner Sandu?
Aye.
Commissioner Redding? Aye. Commissioner Weiler?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranawell?
Aye.
Commissioner Robbins?
Aye.
The motion approved. We'll move to the item 6. Is there any other business? No, sir. All right. We'll move to the item 7, adjourning the meeting. Can someone make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, all those favors, say aye.
We're adjourning to, if we could amend that motion.
The next
Oh.
meeting.
Okay.
The next, I make a motion, we adjourn to the next,
Hold on, let me see.
It's May something, isn't it?
So
I'll tell you when it is.
maybe
Hold
at time we're getting resolved.
on. It is May 8th.
8th.
I make a motion, we adjourn to May 8th at 7 PM.
I'll second.
In favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Ready?